Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Srinivasa Biology Tutorials. For this session to discuss in that NCERT class 12, the chapter is Molecular Basis of Inheritance, part 5, that is Properties of Genetic Material DNA versus RNA. That is Properties of Genetic Material, that is DNA versus RNA. From the going discussion, it is clear that the debate between proteins the versus DNA that act as a genetic material was the unequally the resolved from the Hershey and Chase experiment. So the scientist was Hershey and Chase. They given as a clear experiment. What is that? Which one is an act as genetic material? And it became the established the fact that is the DNA that is act as a genetic material. So what we are seeing that this total the genetic material they get act as what? Get act as an it is a part of the DNA. Right? And however, that subsequently that became the clear that the some of the viruses. See here, when you see as a some viruses also the RNA as a genetic material. For example, when you observe as the tobacco mosaic virus, when you see as the TMV, the tobacco mosaic virus, it is also to get act as what? It's a genetic material also RNA. And Cubibacteriophages, that is the Cubibacteriorubum, that bacteriophages also contain as the genetic material is what? That is the RNA. And now answer to the questions such as why the DNA there predominate the genetic material, and whereas the RNA perform the dynamic the function the messenger and adapter and found from the the difference between as a chemical substance of the two nucleic acid molecules. See, the mostly when you observe to as in that genetic material they act as in the DNA. The DNA it is get act as in a most predominant genetic material, and then RNA get act as in what? The RNA get act as in a like as in a messenger molecule and adapter molecule. Okay, now this get act as a catalyst also. Less. Here, can you that recall the two chemical the differences between as any DNA versus RNA? See here, the DNA contain as what? It is in a part of the deoxyribonucleic acid. It is in a ribonucleic acid. Here, when you observe to as the second position of the carbon region, so here they get OH group is present. When they having the second carbon group, here OH group is present in the DNA, they get completely accent like. Okay, now here a molecule that act as a genetic material must fulfill the following some criteria. So here we are saying about the DNA is there as well as RNA is there. So both are we saying about the genetic materials. So basically, which one they get act as a genetic material? They are compulsory. They are following some criteria. What is that the criteria? Let's see here one by one. See the first criteria. It should be able to generate its replica. Means if in case it get act as genetic material, it is to replicate their own. Second one, it should be the stable chemically and structurally. So when that any that region, any that part, the chemical structure is completely stable. And third one, it should be provide the scope of the slow changes, mutation that they required for the evolution. So in the evolution will be that automatically change for every generation to generation. So that generations depends upon the genetic material also to completely get change. That is we call as a completely in a one part of the in a one criteria. Next, it should be there able to the express itself form as an Mendelian characters. So here the last one is what? Which one they get act? They are completely followed as in the Mendelian principles. Okay, here. For example, such as in the requirement of the one by one. So when you observe as in the one by one, they are followed some that rules and regulations, because that rule of basis, the pairing and the complementary, the both of the nucleic acid, the DNA and RNA have the ability to directly their duplications. So when they get DNA and RNA, they both are they get participated as in this all things. So hence in this both are so here get act as in a genetic materials. Now other molecule the living the system such as in the protein fall there they fulfill the first criteria itself. So which one they having as in a protein code? they are completely, they are failed. It is in that criteria. So protein is present, what happened? They are complete, that does not participate in the DNA replication process. Okay, now that is next. Here, the genetic material should be there stable and or not change with as in the different stages of the life cycle, age, without the change in the physiological of the any organism. So before we say that one only, here depending upon the age and evolution, there depends upon the complete the genetic materials of the complete, they get automatically they change. But the stability of the one of the properties of the genetic material was a very the evident in that in Griffith the transformation principle itself, their heat which killed the bacteria, it at least did not the discovery of the some properties of the genetic materials. So the mostly the Griffith experiment they explain about as what? The Griffith experiment to explain about as any their heat killed bacteria, the insected to as any that in mice what happened, their complete mice will get die. Right? So in that experiment they explain about as what? The genetic material get act as an the genetic, the DNA act as a genetic material. Here. Mostly this now can be easily then explained in a light DNA that as a two strands begin the complementary, the separated by as a heating come together when the appropriate the condition they provided. So, for example, here the two DNAs is present. The two strands is present. For example, here as in two strands is present. Here, when we are completely be creating as in the temperatures, what happens? They're completely they get again to get joined and to get forms as an A. Again, that new strands will get forms. Okay. Next, here further in the second OH group present in every nucleotide or any the completely reactive group that make as any RNA label and easily degradable. So when that the second position of the region, when that in the second position of the region here the OH group is present, what happen? It is easily to get degradable. Okay, now here RNA is also known as get act as a catalyst, hence the reactive. Therefore, the DNA is chemically less reactive and structurally more stable when compared to as an RNA. So, when you compare to as an RNA, DNA is more stable. Here, therefore, among the two nucleic acid, the DNA is in a better genetic material. So, when you compare here, DNA is get act as what? In a good genetic material. Okay, that's next. Here, in fact, the presence of the thymine at the place of the uracil is in there confers the additional there stability to the DNA. So, for example, here one strand has any, here one strand has any that thymine is present. There other strand they complete they having as what? That uracil in the DNA has any thymine and RNA to get as what? It is in a part of the uracil is present. Means instead of what? They are instead of using a completely adenine, here they are thymine. Adenine and then thymine is completely the detailed the discussion about as in that requirement of the understanding of the process of the replication of the DNA, and you will be the study these in the process of in higher classes. So in this total, how to the DNA will bind with as in that uracil. Okay, now here this total information we discuss in that in your higher classes. Now here both DNA and RNA also able to mutate. Here they complete there easily they get mutate, and in the fact of RNA they are completely beginning unstable. The mutate is very faster. They consequently the virus is having the RNA the genome and having a shorter lifespan, mutate as an evolved very faster. So the RNA has a genetic material in most of the viruses. So that purpose they completely they having a very the short lifespan is present. They mutate very fastly. Here next, RNA can directly the code for synthesis of as a proteins. Here mostly RNA it is their synthesis of what? Proteins. It's very important. So that purpose they completely easily they are mutated, and they can easily they express the characters. So when the protein is present, what happens? They can express as in the characters very easily. Now the DNA, however, they dependent on the RNA for synthesis of the proteins. This DNA basically the DNA is depends upon that RNA for which purpose? The process of in what? That in a protein synthesis. That is in a process of what? Protein synthesis. Now, the protein synthesizing the machinery is evolved around the RNA. So, it is a total process which takes place with the help of the RNA. The above the discussion that indicates that both RNA and DNA and RNA can be the in a functional as the genetic materials here. The both the DNA and RNA they get act as what? In a genetic materials. But the DNA being more the stable, they are completely preferred for as in the stronger genetic information. So DNA to get as in completely what? In the more stronger and get has in the more genetic information is present. But then a transformation of the genetic information, RNA is better. But then a transmission process, which one is the better? RNA is the better. Okay, this is. So the remaining we discuss in next class. Thank you for watching. Please share, subscribe and like.